Why it's cool. Right. Cool. Sweet. No, that's not working. Sorry, brother.
You're right.
Sweet.
It's away. Kia ora, everybody.
Away.
We've got Art Green back on. I looked back. It was December 2017. You were episode 9, and mate, you're still in the top 10.
Is that right?
Yeah. You've got longevity on your side, though. Being one of the early adopters to the Stag podcast.
Yeah, must have.
Mate, it's lockdown. You got a haircut and
because they're just drunk most of the time.
Yeah. Why did you get rid of the beard, man? It's apocalypse time.
Oh, I actually So Maddie cut my hair. My wife cut my hair today because I needed a haircut, and we decided to just keep going. Got the clippers out, and she shaved off my beard as well. Left a mow, but I'm quite sad to see the beard go. Actually, like it really felt like a lockdown beard was becoming part of me.
Yeah, I've been. I had a little head start on it by like a week, but yeah, no, it's good fun not having to shave. It's
yeah.
But Matt Heath was sort of calling out for it to be called COVID-19 with the Movember boys. So you're on trend, really.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
So,
all right. Well, I'll stick to that. Maybe this can just be my run up to Movember, starting this early.
Yeah. You could just make it just epic, the best mow ever. You could enter one of those world mow competitions. They put like full like rings around and things like
that. Pigtails as in mow. Yeah.
Viking styles.
Yeah.
Mate, the other day you'd just hopped in your ice bath. You're about to have a cup of broth, and I was like, yeah. And I was talking to Nigel Beach the other day, common friend, common legend, and he said to ask you about 29 minutes in the cold. What's the story?
I mean, I don't think it was 29, was it?
That's what he said. You can't trust everything that comes
was
up
there. I thought it was like 21, 22. It was a long time in the ice bath. So I recently bought a chest freezer and have converted it into an ice bath so that I can have ice baths on tap, I guess. And the other day I did an Instagram live with Nigel. We were talking about ice baths and cold water immersion and all that sort of stuff. And we decided to do the Instagram live from our respective ice baths. And the conversation just sort of kept going. And we're sitting in our freezing cold water. Mine was about 5 degrees, and which feels like it's 0 degrees. And yeah, we just kept on going for like 22, 23 minutes. And afterwards, I usually do a little bit of movement, like maybe I'll do some burpees or some push-ups or something to get me warm. Between 2 to 8 minutes in the ice bath, and it takes me 5 to 10 minutes afterwards to warm up by doing some sort of movement. But after this long one, I jumped on my rowing machine for about 30 minutes, went solid rowing for 30 minutes, and even after that, it wasn't warm. I wasn't sweating at all. It was amazing.
Yeah, he sort of, the key there with moving is because he sort of said that if you only do a little bit of movement or you don't do any movement at all, the cold can go back to your heart and like make you have sort of palpitations or something. So that's fascinating that it took that long to end up being warm again. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Yeah, so I probably won't do that again. Well, I won't. Maybe every now and then I'll do it for that long, but I think the sweet spot for me seems to be around about between between 5 and 8 minutes, I'm really happy there. And I think that's a good amount of time. Well, actually, I think anywhere from 2 minutes upwards is enough to elicit some kind of benefits to your immune system, to your like metabolism of white fat. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. I mean, hey, maybe anti-aging. There's all sorts of things that cold thermogenesis is meant to like the physical things that I the reasons I do it, and then there's also the mental side of it, which is all about sort of building resilience and increasing my stress threshold, and I think that's helped me out in the last sort of 4 or so years that I've been doing cold showers and cold swims, stuff like that. I find that I just don't really get I don't think I get as stressed as easily, and I think that the cold dips and showers have had something to do with that.
Yeah, it's especially if you get it done in the morning. It's kind of like, oh well, what's worse for the day than this? Yeah. I've survived this already. What else you got?
Nothing's that stressful after you've been sitting in icy water for 5 minutes.
Yeah, mate. I just was, like I said, did it for like 4 years or so. That you've sort of been a part of this sort of Element Health, wider audience and wider community. How did you first stumble across Element Health and Nigel's work?
I think I just went along to one of his workshops in Auckland, and I'd heard about Wim Hof. I'd heard about cold baths, ice baths, and I think before I even went along to this workshop, before I even met Nigel or learned anything about this, I've always kind of liked jumping into cold water and just the feeling it gives me. Just straight afterwards, I just feel so alive. So I was really looking forward to going along to this workshop and learning a bit more about it. So I went along to there, and Nigel was leading the charge with Element Health, and he's just like this guy, just a wealth of knowledge about Wim Hof breathing techniques and also just cold water immersion. And so, yeah, skilled up, learnt the basics of both of those. And ever since then, I guess I've just been practicing it and continuing to learn and learn by sort of doing my own research online, but also just learn by practicing it myself and learning how it makes me feel. Yeah.
Yeah. You said about knowing about ice baths for a long time. You did PE, right? Is that correct? Yep.
Yeah.
How annoying is it to look back on your degree and see like the conjecture about ice baths, and then you go and do it Wim Hof style, and you're like, yeah, there's definitely something here.
Totally. I remember doing an experiment, a lab at uni for it was around pre-cooling and the effect that has on exercise. Sit in an ice bath for, I think it was 2 minutes. I was there like 2 or 5 minutes in an ice bath, and then exercise on a bike. And we had to have rectal thermometers to monitor your core temperature, and then you'd exercise. Can't remember anything that happened, but I just remember thinking that the water was freezing and I hated it. And then also, I just remember having to shove a thermometer up my ass. So it was quite an interesting lab, but I can't even remember what it proved or if it proved anything. But after doing that 22-minute ice bath the other day and then jumping on the rower, I was convinced that I was like exercising at a way higher rate, because I wasn't getting hot. And I was thinking, oh my God, maybe I'm onto something. Maybe I could go to the Olympics,
Yeah, I need to talk to my brother, because he went to China with Otago Uni 3 times. And I know for a while there, the PE department developed those vests for them to take over so they didn't overcook. So yeah, I must have a yarn to him, see if he used those while he was over there. Cause,
Yeah.
I definitely remember that being in an Otago magazine or something. Do they
Totally.
know where you live and still send you that magazine?
Yep. The what is it called?
Just
It's
like,
not a prospectus, but it's like the alumni
yeah.
something. Yeah. Yep. They'll track you down no matter where you live.
Yeah, I want to know how they do it. You mentioned there that you go along to the workshop, going there for a bit of ice, cold therapy, and then you get in and Nigel starts talking about autonomic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system overdrive and how we're going to do this breathing and I don't know how much meditation was in your life at that stage, but you kind of go, oh yeah, this is interesting, and then you do it and you're like, oh, didn't expect that. How was it for you?
Yeah. For me, this is for the breathing, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I just really enjoyed the the feeling of it.
Mm,
Um, I found that I felt so amazingly relaxed, and yeah, for me there was almost like a spiritual element to it. You know, I felt a little bit um, like sometimes when I do Wim Hof breathing, I go to a point where it does almost feel a little spiritual, which I really enjoy. Um, and yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to really explain what I feel and why I enjoy it, but yeah, there's definitely something there, you know. And I think that there's quite a lot of you know, Wim and I think the people around him are doing more and more research, and there are more and more studies being done about his breathing techniques, and just some of the stuff that they have proven is just incredible. Just like, you know, how he's been able to treat or like, you know, reverse some of these acute illnesses, um, and just decreasing inflammation and potentially treating endometriosis and like all sorts of crazy cool things just
mm.
through breathing.
Yeah, you brought up the endometriosis part there, and of course, on the podcast you guys did with Nigel, that was one of the key takeaways. Yeah, what a powerful potential tool, and that's the other great thing about Nigel. He's willing to, you know, he's got a theory, and he's willing to go out there and go, right, let's see if we can run with this. You know, that's as someone that's done a science degree, it must be refreshing to, you know, get someone
Mm.
that's not just being flippant with an idea and a theory. He's actually willing to go, hey, let's see what we can do with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing with Nigel. Like, he's so incredibly intelligent,
Eh?
um, and but he's also, yeah, he's very pragmatic, and he tries everything out himself, and he doesn't just accept one way for anything. Like, he delves deep into a lot of research, and it's, you know, I definitely trust everything um, that he puts forth. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. No, Keegan Smith in Australia, he's running a 4-day online intensive, and sort of, you know, he approached me and said, do you want to come along? I was like, oh, reasonably busy. And then it was talking to another guy, Yusef Tuiaso, who's at Millennium Institute. He was like, oh, I'm presenting at it. I was like, oh, okay, it's quite cool. And I talked to Nigel, and sure enough, Nigel's presenting it. I'm like, oh, this is worth the money now. And then I saw they got this guy, Derek Woodsky, that used to throw hammer for Canada, and he's just the champ online. I was like, right, yeah. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 4 days, is listening to epic people talk and strength and conditioning, even though I'm an optometrist. It's just like get some broader lifestyle out of it, mate. It's how much do you look back on that sort of PE strength and conditioning mindset to follow into your life? Like, you're keen on the gym and you've got an awesome setup there at home, but you know, where does your degree start showing up in day-to-day life?
Um, yeah, it's interesting. It used to be a big part of my life.
Yeah.
And I went over to, after uni, worked in the mining community in Western Australia and managed a gym over there, and it played a big part in that. I used to train a few people, and then I started to move more into the nutrition side of things, just through doing my own research. Developed more of an understanding about nutrition compared to the learning that I did when I was actually at uni, which was
Mm.
very little on nutrition. And the stuff that I did learn was very much old way of thinking, your standard food pyramid sort of stuff. And so a lot of the learnings I did was, just my own learnings, and then trial and error with my own body through different foods and what foods suited me better. So then now, I mean, I've continued to train throughout my whole, I guess, for the last maybe 15 years. I'm like, well, no, maybe not quite 15 years, between 10 and 15. One now, and that the way that I've trained has progressed quite significantly. Like, I started off when I was at uni, and all I'd be doing was like lifting weights, and I did a lot of athletics. So I do a bit of track and field, and some specific training for that. And then moved on to doing a lot of functional fitness type stuff. So sort of like CrossFit, but without the Olympic lifts. Used to go to a gym called Ludus Magnus in Auckland, which it's quite high intensity. And I used to love that. And I used to think that was, that's me for life. That's what I'm always going to do. And I realized that, now looking back, I don't do it so much anymore. I do the odd bit of circuit type stuff, a little bit of high intensity interval training just by myself. I don't do any classes anymore. And I mainly just lift weights, or I do body weight kind of weights kind of circuit type stuff. But it's far more lower intensity. And I think that I've had to sort of go through a lot of different types of training to figure out what suits my body best. And I think looking back, the sort of high intensity interval training stuff at Ludus Magnus, like that was too intense for me. I became quite good at it, but I think that it was overly stressing my body out. And I'd see people who would go there religiously every morning. They'd be up at 5:30 to get to a 6 o'clock class, and they'd work out like intensely for an hour, and they'd do it week on, like every day for weeks, and they'd still be retaining a bit of body fat, which they, were trying to lose. And I think part of that was because their stress levels were just like continually elevated, and stress fat. So for me, I mean, the way I train now, I really listen to my body on days that I don't really like. I can't really, or I'll maybe work out for like 15 to 20 minutes doing something pretty minimal. But I don't push it, because I think there are some underlying things happening in your body that we should be listening to. And even if we don't really know or understand what they are, I think that our bodies are far smarter than we give them credit for. So, yeah. Man, that was such a ramble, wasn't it?
That was good. I sort of, it must be our similar ages, feel the same. And you mentioned there about Ludus. I did do a little bit of Ludus when I lived in Auckland, and it was intense. And that was what quite surprised me. And it might have just been the CrossFit gym that I went to, in that, like, we had an hour, and I think the training setup and what do you call it? The periodization of the gym was quite good, and that would go through heavy periods and would go through lower periods and slower periods, and and people look at CrossFit and think that's an hour of intense workout, where really the WOD, like you say, could be anywhere from 5 minutes to half an hour, and that'd dictate the intensity. And then the community feel, I think that's the positive side of something like that. The community feel has the potential to lower a lot of that stress and anxiety, but I'm sure it can do the opposite as well, and that it elevates people's anxiousness about coming to the class, because if I don't go to class, I'm going to let this person down or let the coach down. So you're right. it's not just as simple as choosing your poison and going with it. Definitely dabbling. And now I've taken this model. It comes from Peter Attia, and it's the Centenarian Olympics. So I'm training for life now. I'm training to be able to pick up my probably great granddaughter or grandson at 100 years old, or if I fall on the ground, be able to stand up again, get off the ground, so I can continue to survive it at 100 years old. So, and also so I can go hunting and carry a pack and an animal out. That'd be what I'll be prepared for. So I've lost like 16 kgs, and I still feel fit and strong, but I'm not rugby muscular anymore. What's happened?
Sounds cool, man.
So yeah, we just had some technical difficulties. I think I saw my mate's. He's a teacher. His class. He had about 40 people on a Zoom call, so no surprises that Zoom's having trouble. Are we still having trouble?
Yeah, things have changed, eh? Like, no, I think we're okay. It might be just a little bit delayed, but
Yeah.
yeah, things have changed significantly, haven't they? Like everything's gone online. A lot of training has gone online. Gyms have adapted. Trainers have adapted. It's interesting though. Like I wonder. I definitely don't feel as motivated working out at home as I do working out at a gym.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you usually work out with Reese, is that right? Coach Reese?
Nah, just like every now and then when I'm down in Auckland, I'll catch up with him for a training session. We just have a sweet session together. But usually I just train by myself. I've got a cool little gym here in Warkworth,
Yeah.
um, which is a kind of like quite an open gym, functional fitness type stuff. A lot of free weights, and I usually just make up my own little bits and pieces, and yeah, do that. Just hitting the odd class every now and then. So when I'm down in Auckland, I sort of see what's around and either train with Reese or go to some sort of class or something.
Yeah. So what's your sort of long-term mindset for the programming that you do for yourself?
Well, I sort of I don't really have any uh, I don't really have any goals apart from like I don't have any strength goals. I don't have any size goals. I don't have any. Um, I guess aesthetically, I want to remain the same, like
Mm.
stay pretty much looking the way that I am now as I get older. So most of the stuff I do is it's kind of just maintaining the physique that I have, and and also and I think also for longevity. I know, you know, having muscle and muscular strength is a key indicator for longevity. So I definitely think that I'll probably be lifting weights, maybe not as heavy as I'm lifting now, but I'll be lifting weights in some capacity into my 80s, hopefully. And maybe into my 90s, maybe my hundreds, who knows? um, but I'm not pushing myself too hard. I want to avoid getting injured these
Mm.
days. I'm not pushing myself too hard. But I'm mainly doing it because I enjoy it. I know two things. I love having DOMS,
Yeah.
delayed onset muscle soreness. I love having that feeling that I've worked out, and I also love the feeling of maybe it's like a stress relief. I'm not too sure, but it just makes me feel so good mentally. And on days where where I'm feeling a bit anxious or stressed out, I know that just hitting the gym, doing something at the gym, or even just going for a run, something like that, just makes me feel so much better. And it's days when when I've planned to do something physical and I don't get round to it, something else comes up, work gets in the way, that I feel really anxious and a bit sort of discombobulated. And I hate it. I hate that feeling.
Mm. Yeah, you brought up injuries there. Do you have any underlying injury or niggle or anything like that?
At the moment, I've just got a bit of a wrist injury. I've throughout my life, I've had a bit of a lower back injury, which I got doing a bit of CrossFit when I was sort of early to mid 20s, and sort of just like um, rehabbed by doing a lot of Pilates work, and now I'm very careful with it, and I'm pretty strong and pretty happy now with my back. But I do just get little niggles here and there. I've recently just injured my wrist playing tennis, so I'm currently trying to stay pretty active without aggravating that, which is it's a bit annoying because wrists are pretty mobile and you use them quite a lot when you're doing most activities. That isn't a leg workout, so I'm finding it a little bit frustrated. I definitely find getting injured is one of the most frustrating things.
Mm. Oh, on your wrist, have you dabbled much more with the handstand thing? Have you got that nailed down, or still like
Nah, not at
always a
all.
work in progress?
Yeah, I actually, you know what? I went off it. I was doing them, and then I just kind of got a little bit bored. I was sort of, I got to the point where I could do a bit of a handstand, and I was kind of like, yeah, I mean that's cool enough. And then I was just kind of getting a little bit bored with it. And I'd also find that I'd be doing these handstand practices, and I'd be sort of, spending most of it half an hour upside down. And by the end of it, like my eyes were like bulging out of my head. And so it looked like I'd been like crying, or I'd had like major allergies for
Oh,
the rest of the
jeez.
day. I was like, oh, I just don't know if I can be fucked with that, eh?
Yeah, I definitely know that feeling, and especially when you're upside down on the wall and then you try to handstand press ups as well. So not only are you upside down, but you're putting extreme exertion into it. And you get up and you're kind of like, oh, eyes out of my head.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. So we just sort of dive into the nutrition stuff, away from the institutional food pyramid, if you will. And like I said, I saw you the other day drinking a thing of bone broth, and I guess that is where the likes of paleo gets, that's sort of the meme about it. It's like, oh, you just eat meat and drink bone broth. What do especially in the start where we're supposed to be optimizing our nutrition and collagen and things like that, so our immunity is high. I love a good bone broth. I cook it up. I'm gonna have a roast chicken or a roast anything. If there's bones around, they go in a pot. What do you reckon that you get out of it? I love having it in the morning. I think, and even if you don't even have any breakfast, if you just have a thing of bone broth, you can last all bloody day.
Yeah, totally, man. I really like bone broth because it's so. I mean, there are just so many nutrients in the bones and the connective tissue in animals, and I think that we've evolved to eat and consume a lot of those minerals and nutrients.
Mm.
But the thing is that nowadays all we do is we really just eat the muscle meat, and we don't eat all of these other bits that we probably would have eaten back when we were hunter gatherers, like all of the organ meats and we'd be munching on bones and all sorts of stuff like that. So I think that nutritionally, bone broth is hugely beneficial for us. Uh, it's great because it's pretty much free. Like if you're gonna, I mean, unless you're gonna buy it in its already packaged form, but I mean, I like to just have a roast chicken once a week,
Mm.
and with all the bones and everything from that roast chicken, I'll just chuck it in a slow cooker for 2 days with water and a bit of apple cider vinegar. And it's beautiful. It makes such a good bone broth. I love the taste of it. And it's just, yeah, I love it. I can't speak more highly of it.
Absolutely endorse that recommendation as well. And then tell us about your little flu tonic as well. That's another one that I've done if I've ever got a flu, and it's been a long time since I had a flu. But the old turmeric and chili. What's
Yeah.
your recipe?
So I like to use a bit of apple cider vinegar, a bit of cayenne,
Yeah, cayenne pepper.
a bit of manuka honey, some turmeric, a bit of black cracked pepper. That's quite good to help the turmeric absorb. What else? A little bit of organic oregano oil. Oregano oil is like hugely potent. Man, if you have like one drop of oregano oil, I once dropped a bit on my tongue and my whole mouth was on fire. I've never felt anything so uncomfortable. I was like bending over the sink, my whole mouth, like I was just salivating, dripping into the sink, and I thought my tongue was going to fall off. It was horrible, but it's hugely antibacterial. It's really, really good. It's good stuff. Even though I made it sound like it's horrible. So, just like a couple of drops of that in there, a bit of ginger, and I also like to I've just started putting in a bit of garlic as well. Garlic's another brilliant antibacterial uh, thing. And yeah, I mean, the combination of all those things is pretty good. Yeah. I don't know the last time I was sick. Not that, I mean, not to say that I don't take that all the time. Oh yeah, sometimes I put a bit of vitamin C in there as well. I use vitamin C powder.
Yeah, you said about the oregano oil there. I've had that with too much cayenne pepper as well. You can overdo the cayenne pepper, and then it's almost like your body's repulsing it.
Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah, mate. Before we got started, we were talking about your recent presenter role on the Bachelorette, and how you had to go to Argentina and be away from your wee boy. And you said that everything, well, not everything, but he slept well while you're away, and then you came back and ruined it all. Talk to me about what it's like having that connection with this wee soul that you're a part of, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It's Yeah, I mean, for me, it has been quite life changing. I've found it very purposeful. I feel like I've gained a bit more purpose in life. I have gained a lot of respect, and I'm just kind of in awe of Matilda, my wife, and what she went through, and and just how much of a wonderful mother she is, and how she was just kind of, I think, yeah, born to be a mum. She's just incredible. I feel an incredible sense of warmth and contentment. I now have my own family, and what that means for me, and it's a wonderful feeling. And it's been interesting. I'm constantly figuring out how to, I guess, like I had to change in a way, like, I can't be as selfish as I was before, and I can't put myself first, and I have to make so many sacrifices now, just with my time and what I'm able to do, and even getting to figuring out when to do a workout, is a bit more of a challenge every day, as opposed to before Milo. Like, I didn't have to think twice about when I could go and do it. I could just do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. But now, there's a lot more to it, and it's something that I'm continuing to figure out and get better at, I think. But it's pretty cool just feeling the amount of love I have for this little guy, and yeah, it's amazing. It also, like, it took a while for that love to grow. I thought it would be a little bit more instantaneous. as soon as he was born, I was expecting myself to just having fallen in love with this little guy. But I think it took a good few months until I really felt the connection with him. And I think that, once he started sort of smiling and laughing, which was probably around the 4-month age, that's when he started to give a bit more back, which is when I sort of started to develop more of these strong feelings for him. And so that's kind of where things are at.
Yeah. And so, in your role as presenter on The Bachelorette, like it must have been, where your life is now, and then looking at what could be fledgling, um, life-changing experience for these people. And I was sort of rooting a little bit for Richie there. I played football with him down in Dunedin for a season. Um, what is it sort of? What sort of emotions did you go through being the witness, knowing your own story so far?
Yeah. Felt pretty cool. I was, I had like a front row seat watching this stuff happen. But at the end of the day, I know for me and Maddie, like our relationship, it didn't start until after the show. And we weren't sure about, whether or not our relationship would work until after probably having been gone out for a year after finishing filming. So, although it's like, seems really good and everything with Richie and Lily, and I mean, I think it is, and I really hope it will continue to. But it's like, I mean, you really don't know until time will tell. And I just hope that their relationship and their love just continues on to grow, and their connection with each other just continues to grow, because it's not that easy trying to do it, like have a relationship under the public eye, so under public scrutiny. So like I just hope it goes really well for them, because it's just so cool.
Yeah,
And it's a pretty amazing experience and an incredible opportunity that they got to have. So, and I just felt I was pretty stoked to be part of it, to be part of it again. But obviously it was way better this time because I didn't have all the pressure. It was great, man. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed filming, and yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see the episode where the lads had to learn how to play polo, but I was super stoked that got in there in terms of Argentina, because it's a big place for polo. How did you go up on that horse? You've been on a horse before, eh? For polo, is that
Yeah,
right?
I've been up, yeah, a few times. But I didn't actually get to go on a horse during filming this time. So yeah, I was just watching from the sideline, unfortunately. Pretty awesome experience these guys got to do.
Oh yeah,
Very cool.
that's crack up. The episode I did see, the lads had to do a synchronized swimming challenge, and one of the dudes got his kid off. I thought that was hilarious.
Amazing, man. That was Michael. He was brilliant. He's such a dude.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect anything less from somebody from the far north, just to be an absolute champ like that, eh? That was awesome.
Exactly.
Mate, and, so we talked about podcast and you having Nigel on. Where are you guys at right now? You were saying that you're having to dabble into this remote technology a little bit. What's in store from the Well and Good podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, well and good. Yeah, so we're just about to launch our season 4, which will be 6 more podcasts. So we've recorded them all, and we've got some pretty cool guests. We've got the likes of Artie Savia, Kirsty Godso, Steph Claire Smith. We've got Ben Warren back on the podcast. We've got Noel Josephson, who's like CEO of Series Organics, talking about organics. That's pretty cool. There's some really cool chats that we have. So I'm looking forward to releasing those. I think we might release maybe like next week or the week after. Yeah.
Yeah. And what have you sort of got out of interviewing people? It's a pretty good way to tap into somebody else's ideas, eh?
Yeah, it's cool, man. This format, I think it's brilliant because it's just a great way to get information across. in a way that, you know, like it can't be like it can't really be interpreted uh, any other way than the way that it's put across, you know. Whereas like with like written word, there's different yeah, it can be perceived a little differently. There's different like inflections on words and all sorts of different things. And so I really like I really like the podcast format, because it's just like, it's a long format. You can get points across. Things can be explained in detail. Yeah, I love it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, and if you've, a question springs to mind, it's not like you're reading through going, oh, where's the answer to this? Oh, back they didn't answer it. Oh well, I guess I'll never
Yeah.
know. But podcast, you could just play. What do you mean by that? Could you elaborate on that? It's really, really, really awesome.
Exactly.
And so you guys sort of working to any sort of time frame or anything like that? Like, what's the process for you guys? Like you said, you've recorded them already; they're ready to go. Yeah, what's your guys sort of opus? What is it? I can't remember how you
Yeah.
operate.
So yeah, yeah. No. So we recorded this season 4, so 6 episodes. We recorded them over the last like probably 4 months, I think. Just here and there whenever they kind of worked. Like we happened to be down in Wellington, so we caught up with Adi Savia to interview him a while back and all sorts of stuff. And then we will be releasing them one a week over 6 weeks. And I think probably, during that time, we'll be recording some more podcasts like this via Zoom with some more guests for our following season. So I think we'll just carry on rolling, and just finding times to work in with whoever we're interviewing. And yeah, but there's no strict timelines on it. We don't really have any deadlines to hit. We just kind of record when we want and make it all work, and just release them whenever suits.
Nice. And had Artie started his podcast when you interviewed him?
Yeah, yep. He'd I think he's had his podcast for a while now. So yeah, no, he's well versed in the podcast format.
Yeah. And so how was he sort of finding it, or do we have to wait?
Um, I mean, he's great. He's such an incredible guy. So I really loved that chat with him. Yeah, just hearing all about his childhood and how he got into rugby, and just his thoughts on mental health and all sorts of things. It's really cool.
Mm. On that, do you, how are you sort of feeling, like drive and passion and opportunity wise, with such a uncertain period of time? Like we still don't know until the start of next week what our next steps are. And I guess that you have a little taste of that being in the sort of entrepreneurial event type realm at the moment. But yeah, how are you sort of handling it from the mental side of things?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I'm definitely finding myself, every day is different, and some days I'm feeling quite motivated to do different things. And I've quite an entrepreneurial mind, and so I have lots of different ideas, business ideas, and I go on little tangents and start doing a little research on different products that I want to develop, or I don't know, different things I want to do. And then other days I'm feeling a little deflated and kind of just think that I feel like I'm in a bit of a holding pattern, and maybe I'll just wait until we come out of lockdown to really get back into any normal routines and things like that. And I think that I've just kind of been coming to terms with like being okay with that, and being okay with like not having a routine at the moment, and some days feeling a bit more down than other days, and just kind of just being okay with it and being really fluid with it. I meditate every day, and I find that this helps me ground myself, and it also helps me worry less about everything, really. And so yeah, I mean, I'm really not too fussed on what's going to happen. I'm quite happy to just kind of sit and write it out and see what happens. And um, uh, yeah, I'm not too fussed on really trying to hustle right now to try and I don't know, say make the most of any opportunities that might come out. Like, oh, now's a really good like a good time to take something online and run with it, or it's a good opportunity to like record all our podcasts now remotely, or do all sorts of stuff. I'm kind of just thinking I'm really not too fast, and I just want to use this time to go slow, spend a lot of time with Maddie and Milo, and yeah, just do all the things that I think that this short period of time is going to allow us to do, because it's only going to be, it's 4 weeks, maybe it's, say it was 6 weeks, which, I mean, yeah, I've got no idea how long it's going to last for, but I mean, like, what's 4 or 6 weeks in the grand scheme of things? And so I'd like to look back on this period of time and just think that was a really great period of time. I'm glad that I spent the time with Milo. I'm glad that I, read some books. I'm glad that I focused on myself a little bit more. And yeah, so it's quite nice to be doing things for ourselves rather than doing anything for anyone else.
Yeah, and having a 7-month-old, you'll have no shortage of things to do. I saw a good meme the other day. It was saying something like, now everyone understands what a single mother does all day, or something like that. I can't remember what the context was, but yeah, when there's kids about, there's plenty of things to keep you occupied. That's for sure.
Yeah, there sure is, isn't there? Like, it's amazing. You sort of, your whole day revolves around them, and you really, really done.
Yeah, and you've been in contact with the family and things like that. They keep in touch, doing well. Yeah, it's just so weird to be, isolated. But then, like I say, the technology is such that I think that's where we're quite lucky compared to, you think about this situation and you think about the flu pandemic in the early 1900s, and you're like, man, we've got a semi kind of lucky.
Yeah. Nah, look, I mean, I don't live that close to my family anyway, so I don't see them that often physically. So to be honest, I've probably been seeing them more during this, which has been quite nice. I find that, we go out for walks most days. Everyone's out walking, everyone's happy, everyone's smiling, everyone's talking to each other. There's an awesome sense of community, and I think there are a lot of positives that are going to come out of this, and I really hope that they stay on. I hope that once we're all back to normal, that people are still saying hi to each other in the street, and and that sense of community is still there, because I think that from talking with some people like my parents and stuff, like, I think New Zealand used to be a bit more like that. I think neighbours used to be friends, and there'd be street parties and everyone would be friends and stuff. And I think we've lost that a little bit in New Zealand, and I really hope that this helps to bring some of that back.
Yeah, definitely noticed the difference. We're in the middle of nowhere, central Hawke's Bay at the moment, but anytime someone goes down the road, there's that country wave of, lifting the figure off the steering wheel. And I don't think that's exclusive to a time like that, because, there's not many people out here anyway. But yeah, I think that has infiltrated the towns again. I know when I used to own a Hilux, driving around, anybody that else that had a Hilux, it was always, you give them a wave. So those sorts of things are going to come back in vogue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, mate. And so, how are you guys able to deliver the plate up? Is that right?
Yeah. So plate up's going pretty well actually at the moment. Being in the food industry, provided that you can still operate as an essential business, it's this whole thing's been quite beneficial to those sort of businesses. Plate up being one of them. We make healthy, ready-made meals and then deliver them to people's doors. So it's kind of like my food bag, but your food's already cooked for you. And most of the meals are paleo. And so it's been really good. We've been able to still supply a whole bunch of people with meals, and now we've had like our best sort of month of business to date has been this last month. So it's been quite good.
And so, what's the model for that? You said it's kind of like food bags. So it's like every day of the week, some days of the week, one-offs. What do you?
Yeah. Yep. Yes. The way it works is we have a menu on our website. We've got about 21, no, maybe 23 different meals. And you just select whichever meals you want. Our kitchen based in Hamilton cooks the meals fresh, and then a couple of days after you order them, they'll arrive at your doorstep fresh, not frozen, unless you order the frozen meals. And you just chuck them in your fridge and heat them up in the microwave or the oven. So it's pretty straightforward. They all just get sent out by courier. So that's the model.
Nice. And the career side of things, I've been able to, keep up with that. That's been all right. No hiccups so far.
Like with couriers, there's always hiccups, no matter what business you're in. I think everyone always has problems with couriers, but we have had a few more issues with couriers just lately, and I think that's just because of the load that they've had on them. But in saying that, it's been pretty minor, and we've been able to kind of rectify those issues, and it hasn't been too much of a problem.
That's awesome. And so that's ordered just online as well. Is that right?
Yeah, so you just order online, plateup.co.nz.
And so with the menu, like you said, they're sort of paleo. Are they sort of addressing any macro type categories or anything like that, or it's just a good whole meal?
Yeah. No, so we don't really address any macronutrient profiles specifically. Like it's all the nutritional information and all that sort of, and the macros and everything is all listed there. So if people are trying to eat according to a certain nutritional profile, I guess, macronutrient content per meal sort of scenario, then they can look at that and work it out for themselves. But we basically just we're more of a whole foods approach, so we're trying to just provide like delicious meals using ingredients as close to their whole form as possible. So we don't use any like refined grains or processed refined sugars. There's no pasta. Instead we have vegetables. So we've got zucchini noodles and no rice. We use broccoli, cauliflower rice, which we will make. And so that's kind of how we roll.
Have you personally, have you had any issue with gluten?
Nah, not really. I find that my issue is more with high carbohydrate foods, predominantly like sort of high GI foods. I find that I just get really. I think I actually just have recently done a DNA test through this thing, which has confirmed what I thought, and that is that I'm quite carbohydrate sensitive. And so if I have white bread or potatoes or white rice in a meal, say at lunchtime, then sort of half an hour to an hour later, I'm pretty sluggish and tired and foggy in my mental capacity. So I mean, it's not a huge problem at all, but it's just something that I don't really want. I don't really want to be slowed down and feel sluggish. So for me, I try and avoid those foods just for that reason, really, just so they don't make me tired.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like, I'm gluten intolerant, so I try to avoid it. But again, the same sort of thing when you eat sort of a whole base type, trying to focus on low carbohydrate, and then you go and have a meal that's higher in that. Like we had something the other day, and I went out. I think we were out fencing or something, and I was just like, oh man, I feel knackered right now. And you don't really become acutely aware of it if it's your normal, but if it's something that's out of the ordinary, then you're all of a sudden like, oh, what's going on with it? Oh yeah, I had that for lunch. It's so bizarre.
Funny, isn't it? And I think your body gets becomes pretty good at getting used to a new normal. So if you're eating white bread every day for lunch, then your body just learns how to function like that.
Yeah.
But then I found, because I was eating, bread for lunch most days up until I was about 22. And then I came off it, and I noticed that I had like elevated energy throughout the whole day. But then if I had like one white bread sandwich, it would like affect me heaps,
Yeah.
because my body had gotten used to this new normal of like having none of that processed shit in my diet, yeah. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why one of my biggest realizations through nutrition was that I used to get tired at like 3 p.m. most days. And I just thought that, oh yeah, that's just normal. That's just what happens because everyone talks about it. It's on ads, and they're like, it's your 3 p.m. slump, and you have a Barocca or whatever. So I just thought it was normal. I just thought that's what happens when you have lunch, then that's what happens. And it wasn't until I changed up what I was actually eating that I realized it's not the fact that I was eating, it was what I was eating that was making me tired. And
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
Now, the most ironic thing for me was when I was at Otago, in the second year I was there, I was doing the sports nutrition paper, and I was getting up in the morning, going to the gym. I think I was probably having like 20 Weet-Bix before the day had even got started. And then in that sports nutrition paper, I was fading. And then I'd walk through the link and grab a ham roll or something and go across to the Anatomy Museum and have my anatomy lectures over there and fall asleep in them. And I was just thinking,
Okay.
I was following exactly what I'd learned to the T, but yeah, it wasn't doing me any good, that was for sure.
Exactly. And that's why, but it's also, like in saying that, some people function perfectly fine with that sort of thing. It's like everybody's body is different, and there's no one right diet for anyone.
Yeah,
And the only way to know that is just trying out different things for yourself and trying to listen to your body and see how you feel. So, I used to tell people and sort of suggest that paleo was the best sort of way of eating for everyone, because that's what I thought. But the more I think about it, the more I think, like, who's to say that? Like, I don't think anyone has the right to say that, and I think it's also not right to blanket everyone with a certain way of eating. So I know that rough framework works well for me, and I found that through trial and error. But I think that to really figure out what nutritional framework works for you is you need to just learn as much as you can and then just try things out for yourself, because your body's not going to be the same as my body.
absolutely. And you expose yourself to things like the potato diet. And I was listening to somebody's, and that's only a short term thing, but I was listening to somebody say how they have, I sort of target my lifestyle at the sort of keto, paleo end of the spectrum, but equally you can be at the vegan, vegetarian, or carb centric with moderate protein end of the spectrum and do very, very well also. And it also depends on what your goal is and what the outcome you're seeking. And so, for me, it's about consistent energy throughout the day, and I've found that eating that way predominantly does that best for me. But I'm not, that I can explain and talk to, and it's probably ad hoc. It's probably applying the outcome to the way I'm doing things, but I can talk to why I think the way I'm doing it is working for me, and I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah, man, 100%.
Yeah, no, it's a weird and wonderful world, the old nutrition rabbit hole. There's plenty of places and influences that you can be put off by, but then at the same time, people often do and research things with what they think is the best interest at heart. So it's not to get drawn into these online Twitter battles over what's the best way to eat.
No, exactly. And I've found that for me, I guess the way that I like to do things is I like to find people out there who I know are very knowledgeable, do a lot of research, and are open to new research and open to new ways of thinking with nutrition. I like to follow them and sort of see what they say about certain topics, because I know that they will have done the research on it a lot more like thoroughly than I ever will. And then I like to find people that I can trust and trust their opinions on things, rather than just reading a headline of a Google search about something. So that's kind of what I do. I find people that I sort of trust in that sort of environment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite words is nuance. And I was laughing. Cliff Harvey had something up the other day. He was joking that when he sort of questioned the amount of carbohydrates in the diet as an undergrad, he got ridiculed. Then he did a PhD on induction of ketogenic diets, and he was ridiculed. And now he's talking about whole food approaches and modulating things depending on what you're doing. And now he's being ridiculed like that. It's like, I think the key lesson is no matter which way you try to frame this and keep open-minded about it, you're always going to be upsetting somebody. And I think that's what you sort of see highlighted when you try and watch the Joe Rogan inverted debate on nutrition. You just sort of see two people, passionately going at it, but really the key to it is the points in the middle, the grey area, that they both sort of somewhat come at from different ends of the spectrum. That's where you probably could go, oh yeah, this that's probably where the truth is, or the framework is.
Mm. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think even Joe Rogan's pretty funny. He's sort of saying with this lockdown period, he's been a bit like what we were saying with, eating a broad spectrum of things, because the body adapts, and if it becomes a food shortage thing, he's going doomsday, then you want to be able to eat whatever's on the cards, and that's where humans are amazing. We can function on whatever's there.
Totally, bro. I mean, like, I've done a little bit of fasting throughout this period as well.
Yep.
And I was even thinking, like, just sort of 1 and 2 day fasts, but I was even thinking, God, if worst came to worst and we like didn't have food for like 5 days, I'd be like, cool, it's a great opportunity to just do an extended fast, like the benefits that we get from that would be huge.
What's the longest you've done?
5 days is the longest I've done. Yeah.
Ooh. What did you do with that? Water or teas, coffees?
Yeah, so I did just water, and I did just water, but I had to also have some salty water. So I was starting to get a little bit lightheaded because I was still training at the time. I was training for a marathon.
Wow.
And still, for the first 3 days, I was still running. And it was amazing though. Like on the third day, no food, went for a 7K run, and I was absolutely fine. Towards the end of that 7K run, my legs felt a bit heavy. But apart from that, it was just the same as normal. And I was just thinking, like, the human body's amazing to be able to do that with no food. But then I started to get a little bit lightheaded, and this does sometimes happen when I fast. And I think it's just because I'm not replacing my electrolytes. So I just get a glass of water and chuck a couple of teaspoons of salt in it, mix it up, and have a big gulp. And it's like you're just drinking some of the ocean, which is pretty gross, but stops you from fainting, so that's all good. So yeah, I just have water. For this 5-day one, I did one of the days was actually a dry fasting day. So on day 4, I water at all, and I even went and did like a sauna as well. Just reading into the effects of dry fasting, that it can actually be, it can increase like the autophagy and sort of like the breaking down and burning of old damaged cells. Can cause that to happen even more than just with water fasting. So yeah, so I did, one of the days was dry. And yeah, that was that. Normally when I fast though, sometimes I'll have a black coffee in the morning, and then just water. And then I also one thing that was interesting about coming back off that 5-day fast, it took me like a good 2 to 3 days until I was actually able to eat normally. I found that my brain wasn't linking up with my stomach, and so I was overeating pretty much every meal and feeling really sick.
Mhm.
So that was quite uncomfortable. So if I did it again, I would be far more careful getting back onto food.
And so over that 5 days, were you, apart from just being acutely aware of how you're feeling, were you monitoring anything specifically or just doing it by feel?
I was just monitoring ketones actually just through pH strips,
Hmm.
like urine strips, which I'd piss on, and that was just showing that I was in ketosis, like quite deep in ketosis, and that was the only thing I was really monitoring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's pretty amazing. Like you're saying about being able to still run on the third day of food with it, and that would be where that ketosis would have really started and been kicking in. I think the most remarkable thing is that um, any period of fasting really highlights your patterning towards food. Do you agree? Like, hey, I'm just doing
absolutely. So
sometimes doing it just for the
I
hell of
think
it.
yeah, 100%. So I actually recommend everyone does a day of fasting just to figure out the mental and habitual habits that we form around food. And when you don't eat for a day, you realize, okay, well, this is when I normally eat. Am I actually hungry now? And you start asking yourself all these questions about food, and then you start thinking also like, wow, I've got so much more time now that I'm not eating as well.
Yeah,
Like you've got like at least say probably around about 3 hours during the day um, when you don't eat, because generally for a meal you'll sort of think about it and plan it and cook it for half an hour, and then you might eat it for the other half an hour and relax, and then go back to doing what you were doing. So say that's 3 meals a day, that's 3 hours you've saved. And also, it's interesting how most of our social occasions are based around food as well. So if you are going to do a fast, it's best to find a time where you don't have any social occasions.
yeah.
So, I mean, being in lockdown is a perfect time to give it a go.
Yeah, no, we've been having 2 meals a day, lunch and dinner, and it's, I don't know what it was, but this morning was just one of those ones where I was starving. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
not today, not feeling that one today.
no, I'm totally the same, bro. So I intermittent fast most days, so I don't eat till lunchtime either, or like 1 o'clock. And then but every now and then I'll have a day, probably like once a week, I'm just hungry. I just feel like eating breakfast, so I don't fight it, and I'll just have breakfast, and I think that's my body telling me that it wants to do that, and I think it's beneficial to mix things up like that. I don't think it's good to just stick with one thing the whole time, and your body get too used to it.
Yeah, and then fasting can go down rabbit holes as well. There's a whole mode of thinking that maybe you should do it the other way and not eat dinner, because then your liver and your light circadian rhythms are lined up. But it's like anything, there's levels to it.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, look, I reckon each to their own. Like if like I love it, but I love dinner. Like dinner's my favorite meal of the day,
Yeah,
so
me
I'm
too.
like, oh fuck, I'm not skipping that. Um, like but for some people might love breakfast and not like lunch, and so maybe just don't eat lunch, have breakfast and dinner. Or if you do like breakfast and lunch, then don't have dinner. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, I've definitely dabbled quite a lot with the breakfast and dinner mode, because usually for lunch we'll just have leftover dinner anyway. So, and then breakfast is like a bacon and eggs, and sometimes sardines as well with that. So, I've on a number of occasions done the have a good breakfast and then not eat all day and then have dinner. It's again, it's just like whatever works, eh? Yeah, sweet man.
Yeah,
So
totally, man.
people, you're easy to find, Art Green, on Instagram and in the television and wherever else. What would you leave people with? Talked about a few things there. What's something that keeps showing up in your life that sort of doesn't do you any wrong? Is what I'll frame that question with.
Mm. Um, I think that one thing that keeps showing up in my life that doesn't do me any wrong. Three things really. One thing is first thing. So I'm just going to talk about my sort of like health.
Yeah.
First thing that's impacted my health um, to the greatest extent has been to remove refined carbohydrates from a diet, or at least minimize them. That's the first one. The second one is being active. I'm pretty much active in some capacity every single day, and I think that we are animals and we're made to move, and so I think that's a huge thing for my physical and mental well-being. And then the latest thing has been my road to meditation, which I've probably been practicing meditation for about 4 years now as well. 5 years maybe, and on and off between being quite consistent. So at the moment I am quite consistent, twice a day for 20 minutes. But I go through periods of like not doing it for a couple of months at a time, but it's always there in the background for me, and it's something that I think has helped to control my stress, but also to make me a better person. I feel like it's made me more empathetic, and more understanding of others, less judgmental, and so it's something I love to try and encourage people to get into, or at least start thinking about.
Mate, it must be a sign of the times, because for 131 episodes, no one finished that question off with meditation, and then that episode 131 and now episode 132 with Art Green were finished off with meditation. So, sign of the times, I guess.
Wow. Yeah.
The universe, or whatever you want to believe in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all about it.
Sweet, mate. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much. I'm going to hit stop, and cheers for another awesome yarn.
Hey, no, thanks, man. Always a pleasure.
Legend.